Stress was not in our language growing up. I remember my mother and my grandmother always being busy, but never complained about stress. My mother most often spent her days at work while I went about my days doing what every child does: wake up, go to school, have afternoon playtime, get dinner, and go to bed. Often I would spend time in the kitchen with my grandmother, baking or cooking, and she never stood still either. As a young and successful entrepreneur, my parents were busy and they traveled a lot, which meant I spent a lot of time at home, either with my nanny and my educators or my grandmother. Life was busy for sure. But somewhere was the fine line between balancing work and home. Nowadays, life seems a little bit more fast paced. How many of you can resonate with that? What does being a parent and entrepreneur have in common? Well, the need to do things right and the amount of daily stress that can come with both. As a young parent, I used to often find myself busy worrying about the well being of my family. I'm sure you do too. And no matter the age of our kids, you cannot help but wonder if you're doing as much as you can to keep them safe and happy, if you're preparing them for life enough, if you're teaching them everything that you can, right? And if they're going to be functional adults, and how much of that you have control over. You might also be stressing about having enough time to get it all done in the allocated time and still have quality family time. And that is the big tricky part, right? You might be stressing about hitting your mark at work, staying abreast of the market, or even expanding your budget. And when you're an entrepreneur or where you're just, in a business setting where there is so much happening and you feel like there's not a moment for a breath, stress is always running high. The truth is, there is no shortage of worry and stress in our lives. And in the last few years, our world has been turned upside down. We have lost important people, things, and ideals. And I'm sure you feel it too, that we have really felt our community shrink to the point where we often feel alone and without support. I know for me, my family is overseas, so already that feels a little bit disconnected, at least my extended family. But I'm sure you can relate to not having the same type of closeness and network of support like we did before. And coming from a country like the Mediterranean and Greece, it's all about family. It's all about your extended circle. It's all about, your uncles and aunts that are not really your uncles and aunts, but they have become that because they're just so close. So the saying it takes a village really it takes a very true meaning over there, because even I remember when we were kids, we used to roam the streets and play and do whatever, but everybody in the neighborhood would keep an eye on us. And it was a little bit different on our parents. So again, stress takes a whole new level nowadays, and there's a lot more nuclear families, meaning it's just the dad and the mom, or maybe even, single parents. And that takes a toll on our lives because we're always trying to do our best in every part of our lives. And there is only so much time in a day, right? So today I would like to share something that with you that you can radically reduce the grip of stress and overwhelm. It is an easy practice. It's just 3 steps that you can do anywhere and at any time when you need it. But first, I would like to help you understand how emotions like stress can completely block and sabotage our well being. Because most of us don't really think about how stress affects us. And it wasn't until recently that even Western medicine really acknowledged that as a diagnosis, right? There wasn't a box to tick in their form to say, this person is stressed and needs help, right? So we're going to think this about this 3-step program. It's very easy and it's a process, but um, I'm going to make it a little bit simplified so you can really get how it works. Of course, it's a little bit more complicated than that physiologically, but you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about, right? So a state of stress can produce anxiety in our body. Anxiety can produce other dense feelings in our bodies, such as fear, for example, right? And when we're fearful, we produce more stress hormones, such as cortisol. I'm sure everybody is familiar with cortisol, and it is a very important hormone in our body, and it's super important in the morning because it gets us energized and going, but it's not as good when it becomes what I call that 24/7 cortisol drip throughout the day and throughout every day, right? So when we have too much cortisol in the body, we are in a state of alert and our nervous system is in hyperactive mode. And this is in response to an immediate perceived threat, whether that is a threat that is, getting away from the saber-toothed tiger, like in the old days, or a threat that is an argument, or it's too much stress at work, or it's a lot of relationship stress or financial stress. That doesn't really matter because our body doesn't really, um, you know, it can't really tell the difference. It just knows that we are under a tremendous amount of pressure right there, right? So our body's job is to keep us safe and alive. And whether that perceived threat is connected to our personal life or a business challenge, the first reaction is to direct all of its energy to sort of run away from danger mode, right? While shutting down unnecessary functions such as digestion or our breathing shortens, the things that our autonomic system does, that our body does automatically without having to think about it. But now all of the energy needs to go into staying safe, so to speak, or into running away. So we have less energy to take care of our body and to take care of our health and our well-being and our immune system, right? So when stress becomes chronic in our body, it is forced to create a new normal where maladaptation to high stress is the ground floor. And maladaptation means that we adapt to something that is not as good for us, right? What we need to do is to help our nervous system self-regulate, to return to the functional normal in order to begin bringing balance in our body. And at the same time, we actually start building resilience eventually, right? Our goal is to slowly shift suboptimal ways of thinking and being and allow for new supportive mechanisms to regulate our state of being. But to do this, we need some tools. So here's where I introduce the practice of a system of emotional restructuring techniques that have been developing by the Institute of Heart Math. Yes, you heard correctly, Heart Math. If you haven't heard it before, you can go check it out on their website, but it is the word heart, the heart that pumps, right? And math as in mathematics. And these positive emotion focused techniques help individuals learn to self-generate and sustain a beneficial functional mode known as psychophysiological coherence, right? And it's characterized by increased emotional stability and by increased synchronization and harmony in the functioning of physiological systems. What that means is we find more balance in our system, right? It is referred to also as emotional coherence. It is a harmonious state of sustained and self-modulated positive emotion, a primary driver of the beneficial changes in physiological function that produce improved performance and overall well-being. Today, we will be talking about the first easy but transformative step that we call the heart-focused breathing. And over the years, I have used this technique with many of my clients, even working with post-traumatic stress, traumatic childhoods, demanding work environments, or mal de cuckoo situations. I have seen this practice successfully transform a moment of panic or overwhelm to a calmer state of being. In fact, I had just started with heart math a few years back, like a decade almost now. And I had a situation at home where there was an emergency, and I found myself really very calculated and calm through this whole process. And I attribute this to having had time to learn and practice this technique and get myself in a place where I was able to, instead of being at that fight or flight moment, I was more clear in my mind, and I was able to kind of get everybody in place and direct what was happening so that we could get that situation mitigated. So this is a 3-step active breathing practice. It is not a forced exercise, but instead it is a calm entry into a more peaceful state. And so let me tell you the steps first, and then I'll walk you through them one at a time. So step 1 is focusing your attention on the area of the heart and the general chest area. Step 2 is imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area, breathing a little bit slower and deeper than usual. And step 3 is finding an easy rhythm that is comfortable to you. There is a bit more to each one, so let's do this together and begin the process. Okay, let's get comfortable. And I want you to imagine yourself in one of your situations at home or at work that arouses anxiety. And just notice for a moment the thoughts that arise, what you could have said or done, any judgments, that audio or visual annoyance in your head and also in your heart, right? And now I invite you to bring your attention to your body. I'd like you to place one hand on the heart and one on the belly. And you can do this with your eyes open or your eyes closed, whatever feels comfortable to you. Now we're going to go through those 3 steps, and I invite you to focus your attention on the area of your heart. And imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of your heart, breathing a little bit slower and deeper than usual. Find that easy rhythm that is comfortable for you as you continue to breathe. This heart-focused breathing is helping you to stop the impact of stress, or in this case, perceived stress from the thoughts, and to eliminate any energy drain. And by bringing your attention to your heart and chest area, you are removing the drama or significance of the situation, and you help neutralize the emotional reactions in the moment. Now I want you to take a moment and notice how you feel. Has anything changed? And if not, that's okay. With practice, you will begin to notice a shift. Notice perhaps what emotion is surfacing, if there is one. Or maybe how has your state of being changed? Do you feel perhaps that you have more control over your inner world and how you react to the situation? And now let's take a moment and ground this new sensation. Feel your feet on the floor if you can, and the weight of your body wherever you're sitting. Take a moment to orient yourself to the room or the area that you're in. Maybe notice colors around you, look around, notice light, shapes, smells around you. And take a moment to notice, how does your body feel? How does your heart feel? And also, how does your mind feel? What we're really attempting to do here is to bring coherence all throughout the body, right? Syncing heart and mind. And we want to take this new sense of calm or ease and continue with that throughout your day. Good. Now you might be wondering, how long will this state of ease last for? And isn't that stressful being going to return? And yes, stress levels might not change immediately, especially if you've been in a state of high stress for many years or a long time. You are creating an environment in your body, however, where positive change is allowed to take place. The good news is that each time you practice this three-step simple process, you are conditioning and shifting the way you react to the outside world, and you strengthen your mind and body. This means that the more you practice, the better you get at it, and the less you're affected by the world around you. The world is always going to be chaotic, right? This outside world that we don't have so much control over, but how you react to it is up to you. So you have to breathe anyways. Why not do it in a way that supports and energizes you? This is, again, an active form of breathing. It is not meditation. It is not box breathing, but it is very specific, and it is helpful to your autonomic and nervous system. So use your breathing for something constructive, right? So some amount of stress we know in our lives can be productive as long as it is not chronic to where it becomes an addictive way of being. And you may continue the normal amount of worry and anxiety prepare you for upcoming events, because for some of us, we tend to be highly functioning, and during stressful times, we actually thrive, and we love our busy schedules, and we're able to keep track. But as long as that doesn't become, constant, and the body has a break, right? I can guarantee you that finding some calm amidst your day will not slow you down. Instead, you will find that you have more energy, your intuition might be much stronger, and we all use our intuition more than we care to give it credit, right? And your productivity will also increase. So in essence, you win, right? You will also find it easier to discern a situation with much more ease, and to overcome self-doubt and find more joy in life. And yes, we can all use more joy in our lives, right? So while some amount of stress can be productive, we really want to make sure that we curtail the constant amount of stress and overwhelm, right? And we bring easy breaks throughout our day with this three-step process, okay? So once you have become familiar with this easy process and you begin using it often throughout the day, you are priming your nervous system to step into that self-regulating mode, right? This allows you to step more and more into coherence, which is a more balanced state where you can feel calm and you can feel more in control. It is that sense of self-worth, fulfillment, and surfacing of joy that I find is paramount in our life, because if it isn't for joy, and if we can't find moments where we feel good and we feel fulfilled, then what is life all about, right? And that is what I teach at my 12-week course, Awaken Your True Potential. It is focused on acknowledging the opportunity to become aware of the suboptimal experiences and patterns in your life that prevent you from bringing your best self forward, right? It's an opportunity to remind yourself of your dreams tucked deep inside your heart, and to find freedom and expression of self through these new tools and daily practices. It is a very, very powerful process, and we're together live for 12 weeks, which gives you the opportunity to create a new habit and to really step into life as you imagine it, right? So we should get started, because Time's not waiting for anybody. And why not experience everything you want out of life today? I look forward to connecting with you again soon. But for now, thank you for listening. And I wish you a most fabulous day ahead.